Hello, hello. I think we are online right now, and I sincerely hope so that the sound is going through quite clear. So I want to say, thank you for tuning in. It's going to be the first live stream here on my YouTube channel today. It is called Security in Mind. I chose to call the live stream Learn, and it's all about getting into cyber skills, learning how to dive in. And of course, there's going to be a lot of questions. I have the live stream question chat open over in my OBS studio. And of course, this is my first time that I do a live stream. So there are some things that I feel might is a bit different compared to when I record videos on my YouTube channel. But first of all, I want to introduce myself just quickly, and welcome again to the live stream here. I'm going to talk about different kind of things today in the agenda. It's called Intro to Cyber Skills. And I am working as an assistant professor, teaching on our bachelor educations, 2 of them actually. And we're starting a new one here in August in something called Erhvervsakademi. It's a school for ongoing educations in Copenhagen. And this stream is going to be in English. So I'm going to do everything in English, of course. And if you want to write any questions in the chat in Danish or in English, just do so. I can understand both, of course, but I'm going to reply back in English. The stream will also be recorded. We both sent live right now, and you can also go ahead and rewatch it again on my channel whenever you like. So today's agenda, I'm going to go through a bit of a slideshow. The first part is going to be hello, welcome, talking about penetration testing, introduction to some tools. Also, I'm going to do some demos. I think I'm going to stick to campfire. If though I need to go to TryHackMe, I'm going to try and do that. But I haven't really started up my virtual machines and all that good stuff. So I'm going to probably stick to campfire as much as I can. And then I'm going to do some questions. So most of the time it's going to be me explaining stuff. And I want to make sure that things are explained in a down-to-earth, like layman's terms matter. This is a stream for beginners, so I'm going to try and be very beginner-friendly. And also, I want to say that I have a couple of screens open, and whenever I link to this side, I'm doing right now, it is because I'm checking out if there's any questions, how many viewers there are, how is the image actually looking, and so on. So basically, that's going to be exactly how it will look. All right, so I think without further ado, let's just get started right away. The stream is estimated to be a maximum of 2 hours. I'm not really sure if that's going to be the whole case all the time. Maybe it's going to be shortened. I can't say for sure. So I'm going to put myself down here. So I'm going to do one now. So it's little Daniel. I also have a drink ready here. I'm doing some Pepsi Max if anyone want to join me on that. And basically, so hello, welcome, my name is Daniel. I run this YouTube channel. I've had running it for, I think, like 3 years time. It's been a blast. It's been a long time. I did a lot of videos, like over 700 videos in different kind of things like cybersecurity and pen testing, also network stuff, small gadgets. I have a lot of small gadgets here on my shelf standing around. It's going to be like the small ones here, what are they and so on. Not really going to talk too much about them in this stream because we are going to intro to cyber skills. But of course, I'm also going to do other streams in the future, talking about other things like, how to make your own small gadgets. What is actually these things now and what you can use them for and so on. So that will, of course, be for the future. Also, the future will hold many other kind of things like, maybe even some casual walking talk and so on. But again, I'm going to stick to the basic right now and go with today's topic. And that's going to be, introduction to basically cyber skills and how we're going to do that in a fun way without going like, oh, I'm going to fall to sleep. So I think the best way is to do like hands-on stuff most of the time, but also it's quite difficult to only do hands-on without having any kind of, knowledge to the topic. So you would need some sort of, foundational amount of knowledge on the top, and then you can begin to do stuff. So the first part of today's stream will, of course, be this small slideshow, where I'm going to try to introduce you to different kind of tools, ideas, and so on. And if so, I get the idea that, I need to draw something. I will definitely draw something. I'm just going to do a quick test before I go onwards. And that's going to be just seeing if everything is running smoothly. Tools, ideas, and so on. Now I can see the things are running smoothly. I'm just checking my sound because I'm like, okay, so for my first live stream, is my sound actually okay? And it looks like it's quite okay. So let's get started right away. And I really hope that you're going to enjoy this live stream. And I'm probably going to make a bit of, walls here and there, but it's going to be all fine. So let's switch it. So the overview itself is that we're going to talk about, pen testing. I'm going to try and do it in a fun and a practical way. I'm going to try and be like, yay, and so on. I'm going to learn stuff. Also, there are different kind of learning platforms you can go ahead and check out afterwards. The one that I'm going to primarily look for today is going to be the Campfire security learning platform. I'm going to go later in this video. I'm going to talk about that, in more detail. There's also other ones called TryHackMe and Hack the Box, and we will also go like even more down the road and go like PCTF. You can go to the Portswigger. Yeah, Portswigger, the one that made Bird Proxy. Portswigger, they also have an academy, but that's mainly for web pen testing. And if you want to do something more than that, basically web pen testing is mainly what you're going to do on Portswigger. But the three I'm mentioning here down below, TryHackMe, Hack the Box, Campfire Security, all have this full server setup where we can go ahead and do real server scans, listen for traffic, real server pen testing. And depending on which platform you're going to go ahead and choose to learn from and on, it's either Linux or Windows, the two paradigms you can go ahead and test up against. Now, it's of course very important to mention this stream also that everything here is done ethically. Everything is done on a virtual lab. Also, everything's done from my computer, on real lab that allowing this to be done. Else, it is illegal. So, of course, make sure to use a lab whenever you're going to practice your skills. So, pen testing in all essence, what is pen testing? And let's talk about that in a more great detail. So, of course, there are some things about pen testing that can be a bit intimidating at first. First of all, people talk about a whole lot of tools. Is it actually just all about pressing a button? How many commands are you going to write, and so on? So basically, let's go ahead and, chop that out in the air and be really, straightforward about it. So what is pen testing? Basically, we do use a virtual lab to practice on. That is not the case in a real scenario. In a real scenario, you will, of course, pen test up against a real server, like a corporate server or company server, servers that's gonna, be online. Maybe they're not online. Maybe they are. It doesn't really matter that much if it's up against the server. Of course, it depends a bit on the context. So pen testing is all about testing these servers, services, whatever I call it. So probably one of the more difficult terms to get around is like people call that server. They say it's services, they have programs, you have ports, and you have running programs, and it's like, yeah, what are all these different kind of names for? Right? So it's basically all the same, but it means different things in different contexts. If you're going to say a server, it could basically mean one computer standing running something, and that something is not defined right now. If you say like a service, it's most of the case, so it's just a program running on a computer on a server. But it could also be referred to as, again, this is why it's going to be like, okay, a bit difficult, because a service can also be a server and so on. But in the old days, everything was just programs, and you ran a program and you put it online and you put it offline. That's really the old way of saying it. And we can also stick to that, but I'm probably not going to be able to do that because I use all the terms So that's just mainly to put it out there. The goal of a pen test is to find and fix, the weaknesses in systems and networks. And there are many different ways to do that. Of course, you can run some tools, you can test things, you can, develop and program stuff up against a standard in a certain way. So you make sure that, things are conducted in a real way. For example, if you're doing some, programming and stuff like that, then you're going to make sure that the standard you're using to create secure and safe code is the new standard, using the right, library, and so on. There's so many different kind of rules behind that. So of course, it's a big topic. Security experts act like hackers to test defenses. That is another thing. It helps protect data from real attackers. Yeah, this is what it's all about, So we are doing pen tests whenever, we want to make sure that things are not just exposed. Of course, that is what people usually talk about. This is a leak. So if something leaked, we want to make sure that, it's not happening again. So it's also very important, this particular case here, is to make sure that monitoring and logging is enabled on all your servers and services. Because if you cannot monitor and you cannot detect whatever is going on, basically you have no real way of knowing what really happened. And then how can you fix it, right? So test things like websites, servers, apps, networks we talked about already. So whenever you conducted a pen test, usually form a report from that and hand it over to the whatever party that, hired you to do this pen test. Often done regularly for big changes to the system. Sometimes, it could happen. And help companies to stay secure and meet security standards like the ISO, PCI, like payment card industry, and so on. So that's really what all pen testing is all about. And it's not just an easy, thing to go ahead and do. But, I'm going to make this really easy and say pen testing is all about, finding weaknesses in systems and servers. And this is why we're here today. We're going to try and learn how to get started with this kind of thing. So of course there are many tools. Let's take it slow. Different kind of types of pen tests. We talked about it a bit, but there are network pen tests, the web application pen test, and of course a mobile app. And there are more subcategories we can go ahead and talk about. Of course, like IoT and other devices, and make even more smaller subcategories in order to, talk about that individually. But, basically, network pen testing, web application, isn't it the kind of the same? But I would say no. When you do network pen testing, you primarily do firewall routers, network devices, and so on. The example is to try and access the company's internal server from the internet. If you're doing web application pen testing, of course, it's more like testing the actual website and do some SQL injections or cross-site scripting or brute forcing the login, or can you misuse in some way the I forgot my own password? And this is one of the things that I usually talk about is I forgot my password actually not a security flaw, that you open up a backdoor and then you're going to say, okay, so that backdoor, I'm going to be able to misuse that in some way. And that is actually true. It could be that. So yeah. There are, of course, also some other subcategories like social engineering, and this is all about, testing humans. You're going to try and hack a human. So that's usually you're going to say fraud. You're impersonating someone else to do something. Physical pen testing is a bit more technical. Less technical. It's more physical. Usually they use pliers or hammers or sometimes a shoe to yank off a lock, or even some lock picking, stuff. It's very basic that way, but in most occasions, physical pen testing is about brute force. In most cases, red teaming is more also a pen testing thing, but it's more you're going out to a field, or not like a field with corn and stuff, but you're at a field mission. That's the way to say it, right? Going out in the field. Yeah, too long the mode. I don't know. Okay, so basically red teaming is it's like a full scope test, and you're combining everything. You are social engineering, you do a physical pen test, you network pen test, you need to steal and to gather and impersonate. Everything is going on right there. So that is the way that those are. Of course, there are more subtypes. Again, I'm going to start here. I guess you get the point. So why pen testing? And this is, we already talked about, it's a good way to learn cybersecurity, I guess. It's also good for learning. I honestly believe, whenever you're going to start with learning cybersecurity and learning how about, to how to go around to learn the bigger things, start somewhere that's fun and interesting. Don't go ahead and buy this big book and just go all nuts in it. Some people can do that, but that's going to be like a very small amount. Also, I'm going to lay down right now, it has been proven scientifically many times that the way learning is best is by doing. So just reading it doesn't really do you anything good. You need to do it, understand it, hands-on exercises, and you can use different kind of models like problem-based learning or assignment-based learning, or just hands-on practical learning in a way. That is the way to learn. And that is why, pen testing is for learning. Big companies, of course, focus more on defense. And this is why whenever you're gonna, take an education, for example, and you hear people, okay, so you got the new cybersecurity education. What's your actual job right now? Oh, I'm working in defense. Like, yeah, but I'm not doing pen testing. No. Well, depending on where you live in the world, pen testing is either more interested or less interesting for companies. Now, bigger companies, for example, in Denmark, usually go around and do pen testing once a year, maybe twice a year. Maybe some never. Smaller companies will never do it. And this is one of the problems we have. So bringing this skill to the table, if you are educated in programming or software engineer, being able to do stuff in a casual way, it's actually going to bring a lot of value to the table. And I think, it's going to be a really good idea for you to learn about, cybersecurity in a way so you can, do a few tests and so on. So I guess that kind of raised the question, is pen testing overrated? I would say, like, no, it is not overrated. It is valued, often overemphasized, especially in entry level discussions. Um, there are many different kinds of pen testing strategies you can use. You can either use like the manual way, where you go all in and read the traffic and so on. And you can also go ahead and do like automated scans and so on. So depending on that, there are different ways to do it. Some of the bigger programs to do pen testing with is more like scanning and not really a pen test. So that's the difference here. So pen testing and scanning, security scanning, vulnerability scanning, often done with bigger programs called Nessus, for example, NSSUS, Nessus, which is just a big program that can do vulnerability scanning on network and services and servers and so on. It's great and all that. I have nothing against it, but it's just not really, if you're gonna say like, is it pen testing? I would probably call it scanning, but that's a discussion for another day. All right, so let's continue. Also, when you're going to conduct a pen test, there are like different kind of steps you got to go through. The overview of information gathering, go ahead and check out what can I see on the server? What is there for me? Is something exposed online? Can I find people? That this is also where I go to the passive reconnaissance. There's a reason it says passive active, because passive is more like you're going to not poke the server you're going to pen test on. You're not going to touch it. And no pinging, no scanning, nothing. You're doing everything off. For example, on Google, if there's like a website and there's some developers, they might use GitHub. Try and scan GitHub for that, because sometimes people leave stupid things on GitHub, like keys and so on, for different kind of things, which should be ignored, but it's not. The active one is where you actually start and poke the actual server with scanning devices like, scanning software like NMAP, Gobuster, and so on. And some of these I mentioned right now are some of those we're going to go ahead and talk about today to get an introduction to them. Story and scanning, we already talked about that. But just to refocus back on it, it's all about finding, for example, directories on a website, or finding which kind of ports and services are open on a server. Vulnerability assessment is where you're going to go ahead and check out today. Okay, so I found these servers. I found this website. The website is made with WordPress. Is the WordPress version like, is it outdated, or is it the new one, right? So I'm just going to put some cream on a mosquito stick. So sorry for that. So Basically, you're going to go ahead and check out versions. This is why versions are so important, which also raised the question, should you remove the version from the response whenever your service responds back? Should it say, hey, I am version whatever? That is one of the questions that's going to be raised a lot. So exploration of vulnerabilities is where you actually go ahead and find out how much you can do with this. Can you actually gain access to the server? Can you gain more than that? Can you get a reverse shield? I'm going to pop some words now. Can you actually get a connection, raw connection to the server, right? Can you escalate your own privileges to become like a higher user from a user to a super administrator or something like that? So that is the things that, these exploration of vulnerabilities can be used for. And then final analysis review is a part, and then go ahead and utilize results, usually something to reports and so on. That is the pen test overview in steps. And I create a lot of, individual, pages here for the different steps here for information gathering. Also going to go ahead for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And basically just you can go ahead and check out all these, pause the video. There are some links and so on. You can go and check out, we also need to get through with this video today. So I'm not really going to dive into all of them, but I'm going to go ahead and just talk about a bit this. Information gathering could be used, as I talked about, by using Google. Google have a really interesting filter system where you can go ahead and, type, for example, site example.com or file type PDF. And it's going to go ahead and check out the whole website and find the PDF files. Google will index everything. So that's a good way of doing the passive information gathering, doing whois lookups and DNS enumerations, these kind of things. But again, it's a lot of words, a lot of short terms. So whenever you're going to talk about pen testing, there are going to be a lot of short terms always. And these will fill, your head in the start with like so many terms. How can I understand? How can I navigate in this? And this is exactly what I'm trying to tell you right now, is that you're gonna go ahead and do a bit of research first before you just dive in. And this is the flaw that I see many people do, is that they just dive in too fast and then they get confused because of all the terms. You kind of need to know a bit of networking, and it's a bit of programming. You know a bit of how computers work. You know a bit of information gathering, to know a bit of configurations and so on. So there are a lot of things you need to know about in order to do cybersecurity in a practical, good way. A passive active recon is where you're going to go ahead and do some of the things mentioned here. You could, for example, use stuff like build with or Netcat to find hosting info or the tech stack of, for example, a website. It's very, very interesting to see, like, is a web page built with PHP? Is it like a Java website? Is it WordPress? Is it Embargo? Is it like another CMS used? And this is exactly why passive recon is very nice. And this is like a thin border to walk. Like, are you going to poke the website with normal traffic from a VPN with another IP address you get that you're using before doing the pen test? Then I would classify that as passive, but it's like a discussion for another day, I could say. Active recon, doing stuff like ping, port scanning, banner grabbing. We're going to do these today, like ping, port scanning, and banner grabbing. We're going to definitely do that today. We're also going to do web exploration. We're also going to do NMAP scans. We're going to try some brute forcing and so on. So we're going to try different things. We're going to hack some things, but we're going to do it in a slow way where I'm going to take you through all things step by step. Also remember to check out the tools here down below. And you can always just pause the video, and watch. There's nothing much more here other than the text in the slideshow. Discovery and scanning, and this is where I'm going to go ahead and check out the open port, the services, and the live host, and there are some different kind of tools here: NMAP, mass scan, unicorn scan, angry IP, the rust scan. Another tool is very interesting at some point, but there are different kind of things you can go ahead and use. We're going to use primarily NMAP today, and NMAP is a really interesting tool, so go ahead and write that down. Also, vulnerability assessment, we're going back again. And this is where we talk about Nessus, like OpenVAS, ExploitDB is a website where you can look up exploits if you know the versions and the name of the service running. Nito, mostly for web servers, and Nuclei is a template-based scanner. So that's the kind of things you can use here. And of course, this is like, that's a lot of names now. And how can we actually use this in a real scenario? So, and I'm just getting a text here I can see a question. Yeah. So, BP, thank you for tuning in. I really hope that you will enjoy the stream later, and it's going to be live. Of course, it's also going to be able to rewatch it. It's going to be on my YouTube channel. It will be public, and you can, of course, always go ahead and check it out. So yeah, I'm gonna post a emoji here in the chat. I think it's there. Yeah. See if I can find out. Yeah. And hello, 808 Cosmos. Hello. Thank you for tuning in. I'm also trying to read some of the, I'm going to try and make this a bit bigger. The chat is not the biggest, but it's right there. Feel free to ask any questions. Of course, I'm going to try and do it on the screen whenever it's there. So, and of course, there's going to be a bit of latency, like a bit of it. So whenever you ask a question or whenever I answer that, it's probably going to be like 30 seconds or something like that. So yeah, thank you for joining. All right. So we're going to switch the page and so talk about exploitation of vulnerabilities. Yeah. So this is where we are talking about you found an actual exploit. You can try and gain access now or escalate privileges. And this is like, what is all this? Like, what is like, how can you exploit these kind of things? I'm going to try and remember this thing. And a computer is all about input and output. A computer is all about sending data and receiving some data. So there are some techniques called buffer overflow, SQL injection, or remote code execution. And there are many, 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 many more. I just show some of those that are popping the most. Like, and if you're going to go ahead, and I'm going to be completely honest right now, you're going to use ChatGPT all the way, Just go and say, like, ChatGPT, please explain to me. I'm a 10-year-old. What is buffer overflow? It will definitely go ahead and explain everything to you as if you were 10 years old. It's going to be exceptionally good for that. And we have another one here. Perfect. I have to go to IKEA, but interested in going through the material, but we'll stick around as long as possible. Sure, BP, that's going to be exactly what this is all about. You can go ahead and check out the stream again. And we all need to go through IKEA at some point. I'm going to wish you the best of luck. And also, it's a quite nice meal they have there in IKEA. I would say the Swedish meatballs and wires and whatever they have, and the what is it called? Like the small sweets. It's called the I forgot the name, but you probably know what that is. But have a good luck in IKEA. I hope you find out again. It's pretty big. Yeah. So exploration of vulnerabilities is the thing that, is where things are getting very interesting and hot. So exploiting SQL injection, for example, is all about what kind of things can you add on to an input field from a website, for example, a website, and make the SQL server react to that. It sounds weird, right? But this is where that if you have no programming experience, it's going to be all weird right now, because there's going to be so many things. I need to understand what is SQL, what is injection, all the kind of things. So I'm also going to say, like, stop right now. If you're already like there, you're going to say, okay, I need to verify my programming skills first. Go ahead and check out, and learn some programming and so on in order to get back to this again. Also, remember to learn some networking stuff. Networking theory is also needed. I'm definitely also going to do some live streams in the future about networking theory and introduction to this and that. But today is more like, getting started with cyber skills. And this is what we're going to talk about. we're definitely going to go ahead and also at some point in time do some Metasploit stuff or some SQL map or Burp Suite. Today, we're actually going to use Hydra as well as a brute forcing tool. And I think, in all honesty, I feel like that since we have ChatGPT now, why not just also try and use that as a utility tool to when you do pen testing? Because you can actually use all these tools you have in your pen test, and you should not say no to a tool that can help you all in one way. So let's continue. Final analysis, analyze results, prepare report, and so on, all these kind of things. We're not going to talk about that at all in this treatment. It's going to be too much. I'm gonna lay down right now and say we're not going to talk about it, but there are some things you need to be doing. You can go ahead and find, a template online. Just go ahead and type like, pen test report and press enter on Google, and it's going to give you some interesting pen test report that's going to say like, this is how you're going to do it. Okay, so usual results is where you're gonna go help the organization fix the issue, improve defense. Boom, that's it. Okay, this is where I'm gonna say like, having been in the field for more than 10 years, I started cybersecurity back in 2014 for real. Before that, I was a programmer and a system engineer and so on. But I see a lot of issues with people just trying to do like a better password. This is where we're gonna start, right? This is where we're gonna start. This is why brute forcing is still a thing. This is why cracking is still a thing, and all these kind of things. And I want to say, we're still there. We're still there where people click on weird emails and so on and get ransomware. And yeah, so but again, that's another video, and I want to say also feel free to go ahead and roll my YouTube channel. It's full of videos. I have so much material, more than 700 videos, and they're basically all free apart from the casual small commercials YouTube put in here and there. That's going to give me like 10 cents every, I don't know, 100 views or something. That's going to be very little. So I count all my earnings in pizzas. So I really hope to earn, I think I earn like 10 pizzas a month right now. So maybe one day I'm gonna earn 20 pizzas. I don't know. So the pizza count is real, right? So yeah. So okay. So where can you practice legally? Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. Now we talked about a lot of the boring stuff. I know, there are stuff like Hack the Box and Try Hack Me, Over the Wire, Vulnhub. I'm using Campfire mostly, and I'm also using Try Hack Me. Today I'm gonna stick to Campfire. I'm gonna talk about Campfire and so on. But Try Hack Me is also one of the great places where you can go ahead and learn. It's great for beginners. They have tons of material as well. But I'm gonna try and explain a bit, a bit about Campfire Security. And Campfire Security is a new platform that is growing right now. We're seeing it evolve. We're seeing it like blossom. And I really think we will see great progress and a great future for Campfire Security in this year, somewhere after vacation, where we're going to see more rooms, a better, lab and so on. But already now it is really, really good. And I'm actually going to use it for my live stream today because I feel it is mature enough to go ahead and check it out. Also, and this is not going to be a commercial thing, but if you're going to go ahead and check out Campfire Security, that's going to be a free model. It's going to be a paid one. The same goes for Try Hack Me. On Campfire Security, if you go ahead and find the Campfire Security playlist I have, there are some discount vouchers there. You can go ahead and check them out so you can get a bit of discount on Campfire to get started there if you want to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and just talk about the tools we're going to talk about today. Now, we're going to talk about NMAP, Hydra, Gobuster, Ping, and Netcat. That's the 5 things we're going to talk about today. And this is the 5 things that I believe is going to be able to do a good, going to create a good foundation of skills to get started in the pen test journey, to understanding things and so on. And I think really that this is exactly what you need to do in order to get started. in a good mature way. Of course, there are a lot of things you need to understand about these tools, and that's why I'm also going to talk about them extensively one by one. I'm going to take a sip of my good Pepsi Max. All right, so talking a lot, all things I'm ready. So I guess it's about time to do some demo stuff. And while I transition to the demo side, I'm gonna go back to the screen with some music, and then in a few seconds, I'm gonna be back with the actual site on Campfire Security. So just a minute. And we are back again. And sorry for the delay. We are actually logged on here on Campfire Security. I know it's a bit small. I'm going to zoom in a bit. So we are talking about, this website right here. And we're logged in right now. Without logging in, you wouldn't see all this right now. This is the dashboard where you can check out, how far you, what is the courses we are doing, and lab time, and the badges. My XP is representing the amount of work that I've been doing. And of course, I can also go ahead and check out the courses here. And there are a great variety of courses, also one of them called missions. And you can also scroll here to see the different kind of things there are. And also some introduction, insider threats, AI and security, and so on. So more courses are being, pumped in a regular basis. And I see like the courses are getting very interesting. And yeah, so this is the Campfire Security site we're looking at. Also, I think if we are going to just Campfire, just like that, the actual website, now I am logged in, but, I'm just going to show the front page, what this is all about. And, I'm going to try and zoom a bit. It is one of those pages that offer hands-on cybersecurity learning, and basically, the lab itself is running quite easy. Since this is the video right here, you're going to see this running through. We're using like one click. We're going to secure hacker lab. We can go ahead and, use those skills. We're not doing anything illegal. We're not getting caught. We're not getting like busted by police or anything. This is actually one way for you to do it legally. And you can use all the tools there are in the virtual lab. You can also book a demo, start your training. There's some pricing here, as I also talked about before. If you want to go ahead and check it out, go ahead and start with free access. And there are, of course, 60 minutes of free Hacker Lab. You can also go ahead and join something called the Hacker Club. And this is where we have a Discord channel. And the Discord channel is something you can go ahead and join. And on that channel, you can talk with others. You can talk with me. You can talk to the owners and so on. I want to be straight up here. No, I'm not part of Campfire Security. I am a YouTuber and I do cybersecurity videos. But I also think this is one of the Danish projects that I want to, I'm gonna call that in English. I want to help them, and I want to make sure that I feel it's one of the projects that could be supported because we need more Danish projects that can, do both like consumer style and also business style. They are working a lot on both parts. And of course, for already a lot of things right now, you can go ahead and check out. If you also want to do unlimited access, it's like everything. And with the Cyber Hacker Club, you can do like 6 hours a day. That's going to be quite a lot, doing 6 hours a day. I don't even do that. I'm to be honest. I usually do like 60 minutes to 3 hours tops. then I have to do stuff, and this is exactly what this is all about. And again, if you want to subscribe and do all that, go ahead and start off with the free access, see what it's all about, try it out. If you want to join and have a great community, it's going to be, you can pay a bit a month, and you can go ahead and check out my other videos on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist called Campfire Security. And I think also this live stream, we're going to go ahead and post whenever the live stream is done, the discount vouchers you can go ahead and use for both these, so you can get a lesser price than the one mentioned right here. I think that's what I'm going to talk about right now. All right, so this is the actual, pricing models and the solutions and so on. So we are logged in right here. And we're actually talking about, I think I chose the one called, let me see if I can find it, identification and authentication failures. So what you're going to do here on Campfire, whenever you're logged in and all these kind of things, you need to start the server, you need to start it all. So go ahead and just press start. Now, if you haven't enrolled on it first, it's going to say enroll. Right? So enroll basically means I can press right now, then I can press start. That's it. There's nothing crazy here. So I'm going to use this one here for demonstrations of the tool throughout this video today. And basically, I'm going to go ahead and click start. When you are in here, you are in gamification mode right now. You can go ahead and start. You can go ahead and learn. You can go ahead and maybe I should move my head just over here right now so you can basically see a bit more. So on the other side right here, you have we're going to go ahead and put in the answer for whatever question is asked right here. And you can reset it. And all these here are steps there are in the whole lab. This whole lab here called A07 identification and authentication failures is 6 steps. The very first one here is about an introduction to identification and authentication failures. And then you're going to go ahead and read the text and check out what this is all about. And in this particular case right here, we're actually going to do some brute forcing on an SSH service. And this is where we are going to talk about that in a later stage in this video. Also, we can see here on the right side is where we have the actual question. So when you read whatever is in the middle, you're like, okay, so now we can see and find a rocking way to find credentials for the user John on, and you get a URL right there. Now, this is a wordplay. So a rocking way, what is it all about? So there's a comprehensive password list called Rocky right there. And that is the rocking way. But, all this, we're going to go ahead and return to that. I'm going to move my head back here again. I know it's probably should be right there. So hand going out of the screen. My other hand, it's a beautiful hand. Hello. Okay. So what we need to do now is go ahead and click Create Lab. Click on the button, and when you click Create Lab, go ahead and do Browser Lab. If you're going to do a VPN setup, you can go ahead and do that, but it's a bit more advanced. Do a Browser Lab. It works really good. Press Browser Lab. When you're done, and it kind of goes really fast. So now it's loading the lab. It's loaded right now. And if you're a bit too fast and click Open Lab and so on, it can sometimes give you a red pop-up saying like, oh, wait for the green one here, the course added to your lab. Then everything is good to go. You can click it. Good. Now, when you click Open Lab, you're going to open up a new tab right that way. It's also going to pop up right here with a, do you want to allow to copy paste? Yes. Yes, we like to copy paste. Go back again. What you're seeing right here is also a lab setting icon. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and you can see that there are a local subnet, active courses, and active exercise, and we can see the different kind of hosts that are associated with this lab we just booted up. Basically means that we have all these IPs and all these hosts, and you probably guessed it, there are 6 exercises, and we have these 7, I can count, different kinds of servers with their own individual IP address and the actual host name. So we could go ahead and try to do some NMAP host discovery scanning and so on. We can also go ahead and just scan the individual server and also ping it, and so many things we can do. that is the actual overview. Nothing more to see here on the app itself. So let's go ahead and do whatever the slideshow is all about. So the slideshow is talking about the ping command. And this is the very first command when talking about what is ping. Now, first of all, ping is a command that is used by network administrators in most occasions to say like, hey, is the host up or down? Is it running? Is it offline? So let's go ahead and copy paste this host right here and go to the actual lab and open up a terminal because we work in a terminal. And it's a bit small, this one here, so I'm going to zoom a bit on it by pressing Control plus. Very big right now, maybe just a tad smaller. There we go. Now you can go ahead and do like a ping and put in the actual name, which is copy pastes. That is the URL. You're going to press it and it's going to run like this. Now, every time a line is being added, I'm going to stop it by pressing Control C because in Linux, the ping command will continue forever. I think it is until you stopped it. Otherwise, you have to add on the C for count. 2, for example, it's going to do 2 package doom. So transferring 2 packages and so on. So what we see here is that we are pinging the rocking ssh.fire, and it's going to give us the actual IP address of that URL right now. URL, host, whatever, you really know, but it could be a like .dk.com domain. So depending on that, we're still getting the IP. What you're probably going to say in most of the cases, like, but why, Daniel, didn't you just open that in the browser? Just press the browser, Firefox window, and open that in the browser, and boom, unable to connect. Things not working. Why is that? So I this is not the case. You know, there is not a web server on this particular machine. There is no web server listening on port 80 or port 443 for HTTPS. So that is why it is not working. It's still a host. And this is where it's going to be like a bit weird. And again, I'm going to emphasize the idea of write down the point here. You know, do you know what a host is? And the IP address correlated with each other. Go ahead and read up into that. You can also put it into ChatGPT and say, please explain to me why this host have an IP, and you cannot open it in the browser, and so on and so on. And it's probably going to help you a bit, but you're also going to go ahead and study and do some network theory. That is also some of the things that are going to help you to understand this better. But we've got an IP address, and by all normal pen tests, what we're going to do now is take the IP address and open a text document just like that, and put the IP address in. And you can also just go ahead and do like a few spaces on, but I'm going to keep it right there. And we're also going to go ahead and copy paste the actual host. I'm going to say copy. You know, copy pasting is one of the skills that are quite difficult to do, I know, but this is the host and the IP address. We did ping it, and since we did ping it, we also saw that it returned 64 bytes from this IP address right here, which is the same as we see up here. So the server responded, and we can see that the minute times seconds is a response time. It's quite fast. So we are really happy with that. We can also see down below, we did another one with 2 packages, and it's also still quite fast. Now, whenever this is like 1 here, after the dot, milliseconds, 1,000 milliseconds is a 1 second time. That's going to be a long response time from a server. Now, please keep in mind, this is a virtual lab. And virtual labs are not designed to be fast, but this is quite fast for a virtual lab. So you're going to say kudos to the good guys on Campfire. Did a quite good job server configuration-wise and how to boot up virtual lab and so on. And we actually see what we should see. So ping can be used for 2 things. Ping, and we're going to write it down here, right here. So ping, it could be used for, and this is probably more for you. Okay, it's a big, there we go. Used for host is up or not. And we can use it for get the IP capitalized of the host. And this is in most occasions what is missing whenever you are doing the ping command. Sorry, you're opening a host name in the browser and not seeing anything. It's because there's no web server installed. If there's no web server installed, you're not going to be able to open that in the browser. That's basically it. Browsers only concern is about web servers, nothing else. So we are not up against a server that have a web server. We're up against a server that is full of something else. So that is the ping command. I think I set the things about that. We can also go ahead and type ping-h. And in Linux, we can read all the different kind of things. So it -h for help. It's kind of universal for most of the commands in Linux. If it's like a customized script or something like that you're using, it could be -help or -h or something like that, but it's most occasions always the same. So you can see the usage is like ping options and destinations, and options and destinations, like, did I write it different? Like, did I write destination options? You can do that. It totally doesn't matter. But anyways, there are different things you can go ahead and check out here. It can do so many more things than just doing normal pinging. But again, this is like a video for another time. Like, it'd be like an hour or 2 hours long video just to talk about one command. It's not going to be the most fun thing in the world. So I'm going to stick to that for now. And I think that kind of covers the ping command. So in essence, if the host is not responding, ping it. If you don't have the IP address of the host, ping it. That's it, really. You can do a practical example. This, by the way, a machine is not on the internet, so I cannot do like ping and some example.com, for example, like this. I cannot do that because this machine we're on right here is a virtualized machine. It does not have internet access, so we cannot go to the internet and so on. Now, what we need to do right now is to go ahead and proceed and check out the next command in line. And that's going to be the one called, let's pick, well, there are two commands, either NMAP or Netcat. I think we're going to do the easy one right now and go ahead and NMAP. So let's go ahead and make another one here and call it NMAP. Now, NMAP is for us used to do a discovery of services and ports. Really, it's always going to help us to discover, if we can write, discovery of versions, and it can do much, much more. Now, today we're going to talk about more like the basics. So a normal NMAP scan is going to help discover the different kind of programs running on the server. Now, we can only discover those that are online. So that basically means if the programs are not exposed to be able to be connected with from the network, we cannot discover them using NMAP. So let's go ahead and run NMAP on this IP address right here. And it's really easy just to go ahead and just make this document a bit bigger. And you're going to go ahead and write NMAP and the IP address just like that. That's going to be the very first command. So let's just write command right there. And the very, very first command, we'll go ahead and run. So let's go ahead and write just clear screen. That's a very interesting one. If you clear the screen and you cannot find your old command, you can also go ahead and type history. And you can see the things you typed before that in the history. Make sure that you do it in the same window and not a new one you open. So if you open a new tab and type history here, you're not going to see the same kind of history because this is another terminal and it will not have the same terminal history as the other one. I hope it kind of makes sense. So It will also have auto-completion certified PIN. And in most occasions, depending on the operating system you're using, it will definitely go ahead and sometimes in gray after here suggest what you typed before. This is a simplified version of Linux Kali. You can see up here, Linux Kali, and it probably did not turn that on. Anyways, let's go ahead and clear the screen and type NMAP and go ahead and enter the IP address. I'm gonna just copy paste that. Copy paste the IP address and press enter. Now, when we're done that, it's a quite fast scan, this one, because it's only going to be one service running on the server right now. The service we're seeing right here, and this is going to be quite easy actually, because only one service. Usually, it's going to be a lot more, and it's going to be a lot of overwhelming information for you right now, probably. So what we see here is it's on port 22 using the TCP protocol. It's open, basically meaning we can communicate with it, and it tells us this is an SSH service. Now, I'm going to do a bit of explanation right now. So what is all this about? So NMAP is a network mapper. It's called network mapper. It's going to try and map the network from the IP address. So it's going to scan the machine. And pay attention to this. It says like not shown 999 closed TCP ports. Now, we are getting some information right here, but we're not getting a lot of explanations to it. Now, let me go ahead and drop a bomb right now. There are potentially 65,535 possible open ports on all servers in the whole world. Every single machine, 65,535. But why is it not showing that? Why is it showing 999? Okay, so when you run NMAP, just like this, NMAP and IP address, it's going to run on easy mode. It's going to run on the most casual, most used ports, which is in a list of 1,000 ports. And that's a collection of different kind of ports, not 1 to 1,000, but different kind of numbers of the most used ports on it. And that could be all from port 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 22, 24, 25, 80, 443, 80, 80, 50,000, and so on. So it's going to be a collection of different ports. And it's just going to say like, okay, so let's do a casual scan, normal scan, quick scan, what are you going to call it? It's just the most commonly used 1,000 ports it's going to scan for. So what it really tells us here is that of the commonly 1,000 ports, most used 1,000 ports, only one, and 999 left is closed. That is what it tells us right now. And basically, I want to say that's great. But you will most likely ask right now, what about the other ports? Yeah. So you can go ahead and type -p-. And you do that, it's going to be a full port scan. All 65,535 ports. We can go and do that. It's going to take a bit longer, but not that much. Now it tells us exactly what I just told. 65,534 closed ports. One is open. So that's exactly what I told you. We still have one open port. Now, if more ports were to be open, more things would be under these port state and service. Now, you will probably think, well, now, I mentioned something about versions on the services. Like this is an SSH service. How can I get like versions on it? How can I make sure this is an actual SSH service? It's not possible to install a web server on port 22. It is. It's a great question. Thank you for asking that. It's a very great question. So actually you can install a normal web server on port 22 and say like, this is just port 22. The problem with that is it's going to fool the crowd. And is it a good idea? I wouldn't necessarily say that is a good idea, but you can do that. So how can we make Nmap say, okay, so verify this is the actual port that SSH is running on? It is true that it is port 22 that is open, but is it actually an SSH service? Depending on if the system administrator decided to troll us, which they sometimes do when you do capture the flag events or CTF events. I'm going to take a sip right now. Well, that is why you need to do service identification, and that is really easy to do. In Nmap, you can go ahead and type dash small s capitalized V. That's going to do a service enumeration. And Welshman, good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm going to type something. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good. Good morning, yeah. It's 12 o'clock, noon in Denmark. So it's quite hot here, and the humidity is quite high. It's kind of hot, but it's okay. Yeah. So anyways, we are running Nmap with SV, which is a service enumeration. So let's go ahead and do command and do the exact same thing here as the top. We had the full port scan, so it's going to be a full port scan. So just like this, build port scan, copy paste all this, command, and write SV and do like service service scan. Let's call that to keep it small. It's going to be very big, this window. So when we press enter right now, what Nmap will do, it will actually try to connect to this SSH service running on this port 22, try to communicate with it and do something called a banner grabbing. Now, if you remember, I talked about using Netcat for banner grabbing purposes today. So I'm going to also talk about what Nmap does behind the scenes. Now, it does not use Netcat. I think it does not. It could be it does. I'm not really sure. I haven't programmed the Nmap, but I think it does it in a different way. Anyways, we're going to go ahead and run Nmap right now. Do service enumeration or service scan. And what we're going to get right now is a bit of more information before. We still have the port 22. It is still open. It is still SSH. And now it tells us what we're going to need to know. The version itself is like open SSH. This is the name of the software. Then the version 8.1 and the protocol 2.0. Now, all of this here are valid information for us to go ahead and copy paste into our pen test report. Now, doing all these kind of things, doing pen test reports is about, it's a lot of paperwork and it's boring, but it's something you need to do. Now we do service enumeration. This is the way to do. This is the way to go, right? I'm also going to do an Nmap scan on a web server so you can see how that looks. So I know that there is a web server also associated with this lab. So go ahead and click the lab setting icon and check out this called pengekassen.fire or pengekassen.fire. How would I pronounce that in English? It's a Danish word, so it's difficult to say in English, I guess. So we have this right here. And we need to find the IP address for that. And how is it that we did that? We pinged it. So let's go ahead and ping pengekassen.fire and turn it, and we got this IP address right there. Let's go ahead and copy paste that IP address back into the sheet. And now we have two different IP addresses. Now take this IP address right there, copy paste that. I'm going to run an Nmap scan just like that on that IP address and press enter. And now we are seeing we have one port open again. This is the port called port 80. It's TCP, it open, and it tells us this is the HTTP server. What we can do is say like, I don't believe that. I want to do a full port scan. So go ahead and add on the tag tag to see if there's more ports open. And there is no more ports open. Now, what you can do right now is something that is a bit sneaky. Now, we know it's only going to be one port open. Every time you run this command right here, like that, as I told you, it is scanning the most commonly used 1,000 ports. Now, if you know there's only going to be one port open, or 2 or 3 ports, you can actually say tag P and write it exactly like that. No spaces needed. It's only going to scan port 80 right now. And then we can say like service enumerate and scan for the exact version of the HTTP server, which is a web server installed now. Press enter. Now you're seeing this is taking a bit of longer time. It will turn and tell us this is a Golang Nets HTTP server. A lot of information right here. I don't know if that is modules installed and so on, but it could be. What we're actually getting right here is valuable information. What we can do right now is we could probably open this IP address, all the hosts in the browser, and get a web page. Now, we can just try it so you can see what I'm talking about. Like that. This is a web page. And that is the web page that also have the same IP address down here below. So we can take that IP address and put it in. And if the server allows, depending on servers, we can access the web server through IP or through host. That is a configuration. This is not restricted to just host. I know this web page is in Danish. We can, of course, I think we can translate from and to. Yes, there was problem translating. I think this is why we need internet in order to translate, but these are links and this is login. That's quite, quite easy to understand. But anyways, we're not talking about web right now. We're still talking about, NMAP. And we actually added on a new command here. I haven't put it down below. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And let's put it down here below and say 80 and say like, this is a scan only port 80. And we can, of course, add on different kinds of commands to that, or we can call it like flags, arguments, what do you want to call that? And don't worry, by the way, I'm going to post all this in description in the live stream. So you have all the notes. These doesn't make any sense, but to you to have, but I'm going to go ahead and put them there because it's going to probably help a bit on the why is it that I wrote this hyperjuice and so on. So you can definitely follow and get something out of that. So now that we did that, we have been running NMAP, and we would definitely like to use one more argument for NMAP. This is where it's going to utilize something called default scripts. Now, I'm going to clear the screen, and I'm going to tap up and go back to the one we had before. This is the first IP address we have. This is the one called 227. It's going to be the one with the SSH service running. Now, if we are going to say on port 22 to direct all the scans to just that port and do like a SC. Now, it's called SC is for default scripts. Now, running the command like that will actually fire off a lot of different kind of default scripts that is coded in the NSE network scripting engine to NMAP. Now, it's going to be a collection of, I cannot remember the exact count, but 50, 60 different kind of scripts that's going to assess different kind of vulnerabilities. Think about it this way, NMAP is also a vulnerability scanner. It can also do vulnerability scanning. It has something called default scripts, and basically I'm going to run right now. I'm going to run default scripts on the SSH service. Now, we're not really getting any interesting information back from it. All of these things here down below is not so interesting to us right now. So I'm going to skip that and say we're not interested. If, for example, there was something going on here with the SSH service, we would see something else. And it will definitely pop out the information that it could find using default script. Let me give you examples of default scripts. Let's say that there's an FTP server running. It could say that the FTP server was allowing anonymous login. And if it was allowing anonymous login, the default scripts could detect these kind of things. I really would like to do a much more deeper video on NMAP at some point in time, but I'm gonna keep it, a big step back right now, because it's gonna be like too much information and you're probably gonna be like overwhelmed. So I'm gonna stick to this for now and say default scripts is a collection of scripts that you can run. Default one is like saying like, okay, so let's try leave of this, leave that, and find out whether you've got a vulnerable FTP server or something like that, if there is something. There are, of course, also collections of other types of scripts you can go ahead and use. And all this is accessible in NMAP. You can always go ahead and type NMAP tag H, I think it is. If I can spell it, it would be easier. And you can get all the notes on how to use it. Also, go ahead and check out the manual page on NMAP to find out all the different kinds of other things going on. The one that I talked about right now in scripting is, I'm sure you can find it. There'll be a lot of text to scroll through, and this is exactly how it will be. Of course, in Windows, a bit small, so zoomed in, and we're here. It's called the script scan. I'm doing like SC, that's equivalent to the scripts default. So if you want to run other types of groups of scripts, you will, of course, need to type tag script equal, and then the actual group of scripts you're going to run. And then, put it after the equal sign. So I think we have a question. With other scripts, do you mean tags in NMAP or scripts? Okay, so thank you for the question, Max. When I talk about scripts, I'm gonna take a step back again. The thing I marked here on the screen is saying like, we're gonna run some scripts. It's stored in the NSC scripting engine in NMAP. In that, there's a collection of individual files that will hold some code, programming code, that will be ran by NMAP up against the service we are scanning. So depending on which script, you can run all of them individually if you like to do that. But when you are running it like this, like default, that is a category called default. There's other categories of scripts, and they hold a lot of different kinds of scripts, not one, but many. That is why I said scripts in plural, because it's a lot of scripts. So those scripts can be executed all. There's some for a bit more offensive and some a bit more scanning and so on. It's a different topic and a bit more advanced, but I hope that kind of answers your question. It is not a tag. This is usually called an argument. I think that is what you mean with tag. I also call it tag, but I tried to mention all the different kind of names that I can think of. So by mentioning tag script equal, we can then access whatever script category we would like to fire up against the service, the IP address we're running. So Max, did that answer your question? I will, of course, I know there's a latency on the stream, so it's going to be difficult to do a live 1.1. But I think I kind of answered your question. To just read your other script, you mean tags or NMAP? Yeah, it's not a tag, but it is actually scripts in NMAP running. So you're actually running different kind of scripts. Think about it as small, individual files being executed. You can go and read them all on the man pages if you scroll down here and go into the nmap.org. There's actually a category for all the scripts. You can go and check them out. What kind of things you're going to execute with the different commands. So you are now saying it did great. So, and you have an add-on question, but with tags just meant like, yeah. So with tag S, capitalized V, that's going to be a version detection. That's different. So maybe you can find it right here and all the mess of the, can we find it? SV, going to be a lot of them. There's just a version detection again. So it's going to try and communicate with the server doing something called banner grabbing, as I talked about before. It's got a script. And it seems like, there we go. Service and version detection, SV, probe open port to determine service information. And this is called banner grabbing. So if, for example, we connected to, and this is also something I'm going to cover soon in the video. We're soon done with NMAP, and then I'm going to talk about Netcat, where I will open up for the idea of how does this banner grabbing actually work? Because we are seeing it, but how can we go a step further towards understanding what banner grabbing is? So SV is just a banner grabbing max. It's grabbing the banner, and the banner in services is actually just think about it this way. A banner is like the like a flag that all the services are holding with a version on it and a name and so on. Sometimes also holds which kind of extensions is installed and so on. So there's a lot of information that be found on the banner. What we can do right now is to say like, we can just add the last one here onto the command. So all right, sc and call it default scripts. And I know it's going to be a lot of things, but this is the commands we're running. And we can, of course, mix all these. We can create one big command, like we can do like, if you want to go all in, we can go like this. That is actually one way many people does it when you're doing capture the flag, to just do everything in one go, press enter, and that is totally valid. The thing is that, of course, this is going to be very fast on this because we are in a virtual lab, one service, there's no latency and so on. But if there's going to be a lot of ports open and need to communicate with each individual port and do banner grabbing on that, it will take a bit more time, sometimes 30 seconds or 1 minute, depending on the latency to the server. All right, so Max, I hope you got your question answered. I know the details are big, but it's also a complex topic. If so, just write some more. I'm going to get back to you again really soon. Yeah, so we can run all the commands just like that, and it will give you a one big answer with all the different things. So I think that is the NMAP stuff for today. So that's called port scans, service scans. We're doing default scripts, and we're doing scan only one port, and also scanning the most commonly used ports. I think I could probably say like scan the most used ports, the most used 1,000 ports. And again, it is not 1 to 1,000, but it's just the most 1,000 used ports there are. So it's going to be a mix. Okay, so banner grabbing. It's a bit different topic, but we're going to go and run Netcat, also commonly known as NC. When we're using Netcat, it can be used for many things. In this particular case, we're going to use it for banner grabbing. I think I actually spelled that wrong. I don't want to do that. It's with a B. Yeah, there you go. Not grabbing, but grabbing. Yeah. So let's go ahead and take the IP address we had before, just like that, and copy paste it. Now we have the open SSH and so on. Now, what we could try and do is just write Netcat and the IP address. And it doesn't work like that. You need to give it a port. And whenever you give it a port, you are actually connected to the SSH server in a certain way right now. But what you actually see here is that it actually gives us SSH 2.0, open SSH 8.1, and that is what we're seeing right there. So that is what NMAP grabs whenever it connects to the service and tries in different ways to do that grabbing. This is just what banner grabbing is all about. We can also go ahead and Control-C and go back, and the other IP address, that was the one with the web server. Netcat, paste it in the IP, press enter, and remember the port is port 80. And now you're not getting anything, try and press enter. And whenever we get to that, it's going to tell you that this is a web server. We will see that this is the HTTP 1.1, bad request, and so on. So whenever we're getting a lot of information from that, now what you could do is go back, try and write get, for example, and slash, and do different kind of things. Now, we're not really getting a lot of information right here, and we're not getting this service that we are suspecting or anything. I think when we scanned this one, it did also not give us a lot of information with versions, but just some weird banner. We can try one again and type get slash index, and move this index HTML. We can try different things. And this is where we will go into the bit more advanced stage. But I think the point is here right now that we can use Netcat by typing NC, the IP address in the port itself, and then try to do different kind of things to communicate with the server. I mean, also just one more time, type options, for example, and there are different kind of commands you can use. I'm definitely going to just go ahead and say, like, go ahead and check out the HTTP protocol and verify how you can communicate directly with it. Now, when we open, I think in all honesty, if I take that host right there in the browser and open that right there and go into inspect, so right click and inspect, I start open. Let's see, is the lab open? Is it closed? Or did I do something wrong? Let's see, we're just checking out. URL and so on. So I should do it by IP sometimes. Maybe. Okay, so we cannot access the web page right now, which is a bit weird. We just did it before. Now, what we then can do is to go back and say, what did we learn? Let's use this right now. We can ping it, right? So let's ping it. Let's try and ping the actual IP address that we just had before. The one we're trying to access right now is not working. So let's try and ping it. Very important right now. This is very important. It's a very interesting thing. The host is unreachable. Now, what this really means is that, hey, this is why we cannot reach it. If I then instead ping the other IP address, just like that, it is up. So something definitely happened. And I don't know what, but we can verify right now. It's a perfect example of the host is down. So the 209 is down. Try one more time. 209, I'm going to ping that. It is down right now. Now, this happens, especially in virtual labs. And of course, it also is needed to be happening today. So it's a perfect timing to have this small error. We're actually getting an unreachable host. So we cannot access it. And it does also give us a different IP, which is kind of interesting. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it right there and say we cannot use this right now. But what I think we're gonna do instead is, in order for me to actually demonstrate this, we need the lab running. So I will probably have to restart it at some point if we need it. But right now I'm going to stick to this. So banner grabbing is done by, communicating with the service and get a response, really. So if this is what you want to do, you can go ahead and write your own Python script, and then, basically say, do a banner grabbing with Netcat, and you can write your own script. And it's a very, very great exercise to learn about programming and so on. Now, I think we covered that, and that's ping, Netcat, NMAP. So we have two tools left. We have Hydra and Gobuster. Now, Gobuster, we would definitely need to have a web page open. We can also go ahead and try, another one. We can try that one here, for example, on another host. It could be that we've been a bit. There's another host right there. I'm gonna stick to that for now. It's also a web page. Not really sure what we're seeing right here, but let's also try and use that in the host. NAP. Now, the next command we're gonna go ahead and try and use is called Hydra. Now, what is Hydra all about? Hydra is about brute force passwords. And we can use Hydra on stuff like SSH, FTP, web-based logins, and so on. So really, what we're going to do now is try and brute force ourselves in through the SSH service. Let's here right now and say, now we can conduct a small pen test. So we have this IP address right there. That's the one with the SSH server. Let's do an NMAP on that. Let's paste it in. We press it. We're seeing a SSH service. We're really happy. I want to brute force access. I want access to the lab. I want access to the server. I want full access. How can I do that? How can I brute force myself through? Now, we would need some information whenever we're going to brute force something. So when we're brute forcing, when brute force, like that. Right, there we go. Forcing, I think that's it. Then we need most occasions the username. The password is the one we're going to brute force. So that's the one we're going to brute force today. Now, sometimes when you're doing brute forcing with Hydra, we are also brute forcing username, and that is very time consuming. So it would be a great idea to verify a username first before doing an actual brute force or testing that. So when you're actually giving that in the host description, the text description for the lab, and it is one called John. So the username John is the one we have. So we know that the username is John. We can just write it here. So we have John. In many occasions, username is not that hard to find or verify, but in this occasion here, we definitely are lucky. So what we're going to go ahead and do right now is to check out Hydra and how to use that. And Hydra is a brute forcing tool. We're going to try a username and take one password and say, is that username and password? Is that the username and password? Is that the username and password? And keep going until it finds the correct pair. Now, clearing the screen and typing Hydra, we will get a long list of syntax descriptions and versions and all that good stuff. But what I really want to say, like, go down below here, like the example. Okay, let's do a bit more practical. Okay, say like Hydra, tag small l for username, capitalized P. If you have a list, type something like FTP and the IP address. The different kind of ways you can write this. So what we're going to go ahead and write right now is say like Hydra we do have the actual username capitalized L, capitalized P. They do have the opposite of capitalized and small L. Small L is we have the name. If I were like make a big L, it would be a list of usernames. So if we're going to brute force both usernames and passwords at the same time, then we would need to supply a list of username and passwords. It's going to be a very time-consuming process. It's going to be cubic. It's going to be like a double-nested for loop if you program. That's going to be a bad thing to do. So we do have a list of passwords and it will be capitalized. It's a user, share, word list, and rockyou. And that is the actual password list. Now, we would need to know the location of the password because how would we figure out ourselves, and this is some experience, you would know this is a pen test Linux distribution, so we just know this is where the location is. At least we know it now. All we need to do now is to write the IP address of the service, and sometimes copy pasting is a great idea. So go ahead and copy paste that IP address, put it in, and type SSH. This is a perfect valid syntax to go ahead and use. Just like that. And with that sentence itself, we're going to say like Hydra, please, with a small L, with the username of John, use this capitalized P with this word list of passwords to brute force our way on this server on SSH. Enter. Now, depending on how bad the password is, and I guess you noticed it was pretty fast. It was pretty bad password. It's called John Cena. But we can now connect to the SSH server. And we can do that by typing SSH John, and pasting the IP address and tag the P. And then without the P, type yes to fingerprinting, and the password is John Cena. And then we get access to it, and now we access to the actual server. We have manual access to the server right now, and we do actually have a flag. We can go ahead and paste in if we would like to get the flag. And just also by doing this first exercise we're doing right now, we can go ahead and type ls, and there's a list directory, a listing of the directory listing, sorry. So we're doing a directory listing. And also ls tag al is going to be all the things we have here. It's going to be a flag that test. Type cat, that is the same as outputting what is inside the file. And we have a flag right here. This is our flag for the very first exercise. I'm going to give you that for free here in this live stream. I'm going to go ahead and paste it in right there. Submit it. And you've done the first exercise. That's how easy it is. Now you learned how to brute force an SSH service. But hey, to your mind, you learn how to brute force anything nowadays. You just need to verify whether you do it on SSH or HTTP login, stuff like that. The syntax is a bit different depending on if it's web or not. But hey, we have access. Who am I? We're actually just John. And we can go ahead and type clear. And when you are logged into the server, we can also go ahead and check out, for example, the password file, which is the file that holds all the users, their home directories, their default bash, whatever. And you can also see if there's a root user. There's a root user, which is the system administrator, the super admin of the server. So we know that with this information here, which is actually a public file on all Linux servers, and this is just a plus. This is a plus for you now. I'm adding on extra information. It's not a part of the plan today, but I just want to give you something extra, So you're adding on to this. We can go ahead and check out what users there are active on the machine. And you can check out like which should be interesting for us as a next user to get our way through. So you can go ahead and say like type cd, press enter, then you're back in your home directory, type cd-tag, go one back, and you have the user John. Type pwd to see where you are on your server. And you are on the home folder now. When you're in the home folder and you type ls, which is like right there, you will see if there's other home directories, and there's not. So the user John is most likely the only user on this server we can go to, but was also a root user. Now, we don't have the access to root users. If we can go ahead and read the past file called shadow, which we cannot, it will contain all the hashes, the encrypted passwords. We can go ahead and try and brute force again and gain access, but we don't. This is not the video where we're going to talk about these kind of things. So I'm just giving you a bit extra right now, so you can maybe get like a taste for I need to interaction to learn some more, because there's so many things behind this. We actually have initial foothold right now. We have access to the server, and we did actually do a vulnerability assessment. We found that the server had a bad combination in password and username, which is why we are actually having access to right now. So going down here below, we actually brute forced our way through. Let me just press, exit right here. And the command we use for this one right there, let me just go ahead and copy paste that and put that into the sheet that we used and run command. So that is the command we used. And no worries, I will paste all this into the description of the live stream whenever I ended it. So you have all the notes and stuff that I did. I walk you through all this. So it's going to be fine. Okay, so we have one thing left, and that's going to be Gobuster. Now, we did some brute forcing. We did some pinging. We did some Netcat. We did some NMAP. We did some Hydra. We need to do some website exploration right now. Let's go ahead and clear the screen and go back here. We do have the IP address we found before. Lab settings. Go ahead and check out. I think it's called insecure OTP. Let's go here. Open the web page. There we go. And I wanna verify whether this website or not have any interesting folders. For example, this admin or robots.txt. This is just a file, but it's still also something Gobuster can verify. I want to verify if there's some interesting pathways for me to go ahead and check out. All of this Gobuster can help us with. So let's go back to the notes and type Gobuster. And Gobuster is all about websites, directory exploration, and files. So you can also do files. Let's go ahead and take that host right here. Open up a terminal. We're going to ping it to get the IP address as we talked about before. I'm going to take the IP address. Let me just go up in the top, paste in the host, take the IP address now, paste it in. I'll paste the IP address back. Clear screen. Run Gobuster. So this is going to be a directory scan for Gobuster. I'm going to scan on the HTTP side of it all. That's going to be the protocol with this IP address. So we're going to scan this IP address for folders. We also need to supply a word list. So that's user, share, word list, bus not usually used. You can also go ahead and type tab. When you tap your keyboard, you will see what is inside the folder Gobuster. We will use this right here. Just go ahead and paste it in. And when I run this command right here, it will scan. Gobuster will scan for directories on this IP address right there, which is website using this word list. But hey, I'd said files too. Go and add in the tag X, which is going to be the different kind of extensions you're going to look for. Text, PHP, JS, these are the things that usually make sense to look for. Because also going to look for files with the extensions of text, PHP, and JS. Go ahead and then press enter. Now the payload is fine, and I already know there's actually something called /logout and /dashboard and /console. All these good things. Now I wouldn't. Testing for this manual is going to take a long time, so let's go ahead and just try this and say like this one called logout. What is that? Logout. Okay, so it's a page that redirects us to the website. It's usually it's a dashboard. Probably have no access because I'm not logged in. And console, again, I'm probably sure I have no access because I'm not actually have access to that. And then again, I don't know what that is, but yeah, empiric pin. So basically, there are some things here we can go ahead and check out. All this, you can keep it running. I'm going to press Control C, but it will just keep scanning, keep scanning, keep scanning. And you can see this, it does say status code. Basically means you're being redirected to this parameter there, which is exactly what's happening because we're not logged in. And you're going to get a console, status code 200. We can actually go to it. So that's a website. But these endpoints here, which are valid, they exist. You need to understand the status codes, which is the status codes that an HTTP protocol is giving us back, saying like, yeah, it exists, but it's going to be redirected to this one right there. Redirected, right? With this arrow. So now we have that. We've scanned the actual website. I'm going to paste this in, by the way, here below. And type command. We have brute forced our way through, gain access to the server because of bad passwords and username. Mostly password, I guess. We use Netcat for banner grabbing. We have done NMAP exploration, service enumeration, full port scans. We executed default scripts. We did like 1,000 most used ports. And we also only scanned one port. We did pinging, host up or not, get the IP address of the host. And we used different kind of hosts to discover the IP address of them. So for this video right now, I'm active another question. Can Gobuster also do it with HTTPS or only HTTP? Yeah, so it does not really matter if it's HTTPS or HTTP. Let me clarify that. HTTPS basically just means that the communication back and forth is encrypted. It doesn't really matter since you are the one doing the request on your machine, which basically means that if so, there were some sort of encryption going on, you would still hold the encryption key because you initiated traffic. However, that happens in the browser. So it would not really matter on a level of deep concern in order to a question. So yeah, that's fine. In order to wrap around today and wrap up today, because we are getting to the end of the day, we're getting to the end of the stream. I've been live for 1 hour, 43 minutes right now, and we're getting to the part where questions can be asked. And we are actually going to quickly talk about all of what we've seen so far. And I did that already, I think. So I'm going to try and wrap up a bit and say, what's next? What can you do next? What should you do? What would I do? All these kind of things, because we all of the videos, like the things that I wish I knew before starting pen testing. Yeah, I understand that. You know, I wished that if before I started pen testing, I wish I knew that, I really wish I knew a good place to start with a good lab and a good, entry level pricing is okay and so on. There are many different things today. There are like campfire, try hack me, hack the box. I would definitely say go to try hack me if you want easy, really big community and so on, with a lot of room and so on. But I was gonna say, like, go to campfire if you want something that is Danish made, something that have actually a better, more deeper level, I would say a bit more academic level of introduction to security. I'm gonna explain that by going back to the courses here. Now we are seeing stuff like OWASP and an advanced course. It's gonna be all the 10 different web vulnerabilities you can get and find on On websites, there's of course more than 10 different vulnerabilities, but it's just top 10. Also, OWASP is a website you can go and visit and you can read about it. But having these here as a collection basically tells me that campfire means that they're serious about this. They want you to get some quality learning materials right out, right? So you need to make sure to pick the right platform for you. I started my journey back in the days with just, hacking whatever I developed myself. And then at some point in time, try-hacking came, and then I bought subscription for that. And then later on, hacked the box, and then now I'm doing campfire. I'm doing everything basically. So I just feel like, doing a little bit of this and that is the way to go. I feel that there's so many resources these days, so you shouldn't be doing one, you should do them all. But start one place, start with, learning a bit of network, this is what I would do, network theory, commands in Linux, bit of programming, how a computer works, what are cloud computing. All these things together can help you to understand cybersecurity and starting with pen testing. And exactly what I mean. If you don't do that, you probably will struggle with all the terms, the short terms, and this is exactly what you're going to need to avoid. We need to understand a lot of things in order to go through cybersecurity, and this is why the palette of skills need to be like broader when you're doing cybersecurity. Where if you're just a programmer, not just, but if you are a programmer, you need to do like one thing, just to understand the language you're programming in and the problem you're trying to solve. Whereas when you're doing cybersecurity, you're doing all the things. So basically, you need to have a lot of things, knowledge, understanding of protocols, HTTP protocol, SSH protocols, a lot of standard things you need to understand. So I also didn't come to this part by chance or by accident. There is actually a truth behind that most people they start out in operations or programming, and then they evolve to cybersecurity because this is how you do it. These days, there are educations now in cybersecurity. One of them can be done in Aalborg University. There are also master educations, and there are also Danish technical universities. DCU will also have some cybersecurity education, but all the universities, one of them will have the biggest, more serious line of cybersecurity educations, all the way to master level. If you want like a more hands-on education, you're gonna go to the more practical educations to go up to bachelor level. It's called Erhvervscare Academy in Denmark, and you could probably call it academic degrees or practical degrees, whatever you call that. It's a bit difficult to explain these kind of things, but if you're in Denmark, you probably know what I mean. I teach in two different bachelor educations in cybersecurity. Another one's called IT security. So this can be different, it's kind of the same, but they're different. So those are the things that I would say do also in education. And yeah, I'm gonna try and go to become more big again on the screen here and say like, I'm gonna end up the stream very soon, and I want to say, any final questions to be asked? Now would be a good time. I'm going to take a sip. So yeah, any final questions? Now is the time to ask those. And I also want to say, I want to say I'm grateful to open up for, the live streaming thing. I actually enjoy doing live streaming a lot. It reminds me of what I do in my, daily profession. I teach, I stand up and look at people, and I talk to people, and live streaming reminds me of that. This is what I really enjoy, and I enjoy learning, enjoy giving, and I think this is the thing that we need more of, more givers, and eventually, when I gave not enough, maybe something will come back to my platter, in terms of, great questions or something. So I want to say thank you all, for joining. Thank you for watching the stream later on. It's going to be live here on, well, not live, but it'll be soon able to be watched on YouTube. It's going to be there. I'm going to paste the notes that we talked about before throughout the whole lab time. And I'm also going to post some discount vouchers to Campfire Security if you want to have a subscription and save a bit off the top to get it a bit cheaper. I want to thank you all for joining in, and I had a really good time. I hope you learned something, and please do not hesitate to ask any questions to the live stream after it's been posted. It's gonna be there really soon on YouTube really fast. I will try and answer all the questions, the best abilities always. Feel free to check out my YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and do that. It's a great way to support me. And I really hope to see a broader audience, also Denmark, joining onto this live stream venture that I'm going on. I'm going to do more live streams in the future. I'm going to try and do a lot more and focus more on live streams compared to recorded videos. But hey, we're gonna start somewhere and start growing and see how far we can get. So I want to thank you for now. Have a really nice day and see you again out there.